Hey everyone, in this video we'll be learning about .NET MAUI MVVM binding. So here we'll be using XAML. In our next video we'll be using C# MVVM bindings too, and I don't want you to miss that video. I'll be placing the video link in my video's description too, and along with the source code of this video too, so you can just check it from there. So here what our basic objective is going to be: create a basic MVVM binding for a label and a button. So there are lots of approach. That is our Xamarin that is our .NET MAUI community toolkit MVVM bindings too. There are plugins too. There are third-party plugins too. They're like Prism or anything as you like, as per your requirement you can use those plugins. But here I just want to make this tutorial very basic and very short. So what I'm going to do is like I'll just bind this UI, that is our main page, with the view model and pass the data from view model to the view, and the same goes for our button to pass the data from our view to the view model, and then implement a click handler. So that is it. So that is what our requirement is, and here we are going to see a basic UI. That is, this is the grid. Okay, so a basic UI which is placed at center, a label, this is the label, and then our image button, this is the image button, and a label as a text. So this is what the full code looks like. Then what we are going to do is like we are going to focus on three properties, that is this label, and which should be binded as a string with the view model. In the view model, here you can see, if you hover to the text property, then here the IntelliSense will show that we need to bind this labeled as a text because it contains the value. And what we are going to do is we are going to feed the data from the view model as a string. Okay, so same thing goes for the image button too. So it has a source property, that is a image button, or you can place a image too, and it depends upon your requirement. A source has to be binded with the image source property, or a string too. It can be it could use any properties as an image source. And a button, if you are removing this image, and then if you are just using a button, then it has a command property too. So here the command is something like a click handlers. Okay, that is like whenever the button is clicked, then what happens. So that is what the command tells like. Okay, so what we are going to do is like we are going to bind this view with the view model. That means we are going to create a new class, okay, new file or a new class, just general, a class name as main page view model. Okay, so that is it. Then our main page should be now attached with the view model, that is our main page view model. So like this way. Okay, so we are just going to bind a view with the view model like this way. Now I'll just show the view model approach. So this is the view model, this is the whole code looks like. Okay, so here the main page, just focus on the main page, the header text. Okay, so header text, my image button source property should look like this. Okay, so the header text is a public property which gets binded with the view. Okay, this is also a public property which gets binded with the view. Okay, as a source. Okay, so I'm just binding as a source, as a string, but you can just place source as image button, image source too. Okay, so it depends upon your requirement. Then what we are going to do is we are going to create such a change in the view model that whenever a third-party data comes up, okay, so if the data comes up, then our UI should be refreshed. So we are using view model and a bindable object. So don't forget to mention that, because it changes the property of the text. That means like whenever a button is clicked, then we can change it instantly. Okay, like what we are going to feed at first is this data to the UI, that is header text, because whenever the application comes, then it will hit the UI over here. Okay, whenever application comes to this place, it will hit the UI, it goes to the main page view model, and this is going to get initialized. That means this data is going to be fed at first to the UI. Okay, then and then with the help of bindable object property changes, those UIs, the UI data, that is like those strings are going to be sent to the UI. And here I have used my image button source as a text string like google icon.png, which I have placed inside the resources images folder, so don't forget to add that, and lower case the this images of your own, so you can place any images as you like, okay, inside this folder. So lowercase those image text. Then what we are going to do is like we have already learned about this header text as well as my image button source, how the data is fed at first. That means the data is going to strike on this code at first, and then it will feed the data to the views. Okay, then what we are going to do is like for our third property, that is our command property, that is the image button command property. So here we are going to tell that this button, whenever it's hit, we are going to operate this method. Okay, that is like the button click command comes over here, it initializes this method. Okay, so whenever this method is getting initialized, it's just like a click handler. Whenever button is clicked, then we are going to change the header text to something like view model binding click display alert that gets showed up whenever the button is clicked. So that is it. Application, whenever it loads, then it feeds the data as view model binding to the C# page. Okay, so that is it. And whenever the button is clicked, okay, so here you can see alert is shown, but here the text gets changed dynamically. So that is how MVVM works. So this is just a basic approach, but there are really other approaches too that are really interesting, so I just want you to have a look on those approaches. So that is it for this tutorial now. Thank you guys, thanks for watching, keep in touch for our next tutorials.